Hello and welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, Season 2. Today's episode is partnered by Perpetual Bus Experiences. They are an artist representation company with three very basic but lofty goals. They're the launchpad for several many artists, helping them leverage success in the best possible manner. They also help fund social causes and make sure that people have a good time throughout the process. So be sure to check them out on www.perpetualbus.com. I have two very distinguished guests today. The first one being Mr. Mark Hartsuch, who is a distinguished saxophonist and producer. He's left an indelible mark both in the American and Indian music scenes. He has contributed to Grammy and Oscar winner A.R. Rahman's live performances and played alongside renowned artists like Steve Vai. After a move to India in 2021, he co founded the acclaimed ensemble Mamoji with bassist Mohini De and drummer Gino Banks. He has totally solidified his international presence by his contributions in the world of music. My next guest can be called as India's busiest drummer. He's got a remarkable portfolio, including collaborations with Bollywood luminaires like A.R. Rahman, Salim Suleiman, and he's also the frontman of Darshan Doshi Trio. As a matter of fact, they've clinched the Clef Music Awards this year. Darshan's got his own signature drumsticks, and his percussion skills are highly sought after. Their chance of meeting blossomed into an electrifying collaboration, resulting in a dynamic EP together that includes the likes of Darshan Doshi and Mark Hartsuch, and the EP is called Better Than Sax. And they will be shortly touring India very soon. I can't be more excited. So, without any further ado, I'm delighted to welcome my guests for today, Darshan Doshi and Mark Hartsuch.
Hi, I'm Mark Hartsuch.
Hi, this is Darshan Doshi.
And we are on Stalwarts of Music with the one and only Aditya Veera.
Hi, Darshan. Hi, Mark. What's going on? Where are you at? What's going on in terms of music?
Hi, Adi. I'm very much in Mumbai today, and there's actually lots of music happening currently. A lot of travel as well for tours and stuff. So having some good time on stage and off stage as well now.
Incredible. Well, how about you, Mark?
I'm also in the great city of Mumbai and enjoying my life lots with lots of music, and very pleased to be collaborating with this fine gentleman here in this capacity. So excited to be here with you today as well, Aditya.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing yourselves. It's such a pleasure to finally have you on Stalwarts of Music, Darshan. And Mark, you've already been on the Mamoji episode. Welcome back to Stalwarts of Music.
Thank you. Feels great to be back.
Awesome. So I have some very interesting questions as part of our agenda. So shall we get going?
Sure.
Let's dive in.
All right. So firstly, I'd like to understand as to how did the two of you meet? You both can choose to speak in unison.
That'd be really funny.
Yeah, can you imagine if we both tried to do it at the same time? You go first, Darshan.
Okay, so basically I know Mark for a couple of years now. Last year we actually were touring a lot in the sense of doing a lot of club gigs in Mumbai with different setups and different genres and stuff. So that's where we actually kind of got together, and had the opportunity to play on stage. And I really enjoyed his energy, his music, the music that he gets to the table every time. And, he's such a professional when it comes to being prepped up for anything that is thrown at him, whether it's a jazz standard to an R&B track or to a pop song, or, anything you throw at him, and he's always there. So that's really one thing I really appreciate about Mark. And also there are a very few, good saxophone players in India, unfortunately. And when you hear somebody like him, just the whole tone takes you back, to the States. And uh, I always wanted to kind of collaborate with somebody who has this tone and has the vocabulary and understands music so well. And yeah, we got this opportunity. It had happened very randomly. I think Mark will tell you how we met, and yeah, about this entire album process.
Yeah, let's hear
Yeah.
his side of this.
So I remember the first time meeting Darshan was actually at the Roland Creative Center here in
Mm-hmm.
Mumbai. We were recording with some great musicians. There was like a video shoot, and it was kind of one of these things that I wish would happen more, where it was a sitar player
Mm-hmm.
said, "Hey, let's all get together and let's jam."
Right.
And so basically we got together and we like created a song. So it was like Rhythm Shaw was there, and you remember who else was there, Darshan?
Yes, I think it was Rhythm, Mohini, yourself, mine. Purban Chatterjee was the
Or
sitar
Bayan?
player
Yeah,
who got this us together. There was Anusha Mani on vocals, and I think there was Ishan on tabla. So yeah, there was a really good set of
yeah,
musicians
Okay.
coming together.
yeah. It was amazing. So I think basically I was kind of tagging along with Mohini. I had just come to India at that point. I don't even think I was married yet.
Mm-hmm.
It must have been like it was during the pandemic. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so basically, I met Darshan there, and we didn't really know each other very much. It was like we were just playing for the first time, but I sensed a very deep sense of musicality and being able to come up with ideas on the spot, which I thought was incredible, and being able to interact with musicians, create. I will say this: creating an arrangement in real time and then executing is something that is very hard for a lot of people to do, because a lot of people will want to say, "Oh, I need to go and take this home and spend some real time with it and do this, da 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 da." But I immediately noticed that like Darshan has like a sense of like he has it, he hears something once, he understands an arrangement, and then he has it and is ready to record. So I
Right.
sensed a great sense of professionalism from him,
Mm. Mm.
and ability. And so, anyways, whenever there was an opportunity to play with Darshan with various bands, I always took the opportunity because I knew that it would be, great. So, um, you know, I think, Darshan, has had and has like Darshan Doshi trio, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen him play with Darshan Doshi trio, and I've always thought, man, I would like to play with Darshan too. I play with Mamoji and I play with other setups, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you know, I admire so many musicians, but there are certain musicians that stand out. So, I saw Darshan at a concert recently.
Okay.
It was the Jesus Molina concert that was in
Mm.
Mumbai.
NCPA.
Yeah, NCPA,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually didn't get a chance to say hello to each other at the concert, but I
Okay.
saw him in the distance, and I was like, man, I wish I had the opportunity to say hi to him. So I messaged him that night and I said, hey, man, I saw you in the crowd, but wasn't able to connect with you. How's
Mm.
everything? He's like, good. And I think one of us said, like, it'd be great to play sometime, which is like kind of the generic saying for musicians. Like, let's do something sometime. Let's
Yeah.
jam or let's create sometime. Let's collab these things, right? But then I kind of sat in my room and I was thinking, you know what? Actually, let's do something. I
Okay.
don't want to just say that. I don't want to be the. So I wrote 5 songs for this album, which I didn't actually think would be an album. I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of thought, I just want to write 5 songs so Darshan and I can do something together. I didn't really care about what it was. I
Mm.
wasn't thinking anything about anything. I was just, let's just play. So then Darshan was like, hey, I think these songs have some promise. Like maybe we should do it in a legit way. Like we should go to Island City and
Yeah.
record and uh, do some video. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'd love to do that. So
Mm. Mm.
maybe you can take it from there, Darshan.
Yeah. So first, we thought we are actually just gonna, come together, record some songs, and maybe just put it out on Instagram or YouTube, like just for like a little bit of videos and stuff coming out from both our sides. But when I actually heard the music,
Mm.
firstly, I was completely shocked. Like in like we spoke about, and in 2 days I get this Google Drive folder,
Wow.
with all these songs, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that is really quick. And as Mark said, most of the time people say that, let's meet and let's
Yeah.
jam, and
Yeah.
we'll meet up at the studio and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
obviously everybody's kind of busy with their own work, and sometimes the things don't match. And this suddenly I get these two songs. I remember I was on a drive to Dehradun next day, and I was listening to all the songs, and I'm like, wow, man, he's recorded and programmed all these things in like 2 days, and
Yeah.
set this up. And then obviously I kind of kept listening to the music, and I was like, I don't really want to put this out just by doing a random video on our phones. um, and you won't believe, when we actually met for the one rehearsal that we actually did for 3 hours
Yeah.
at my studio, is when we actually booked the video team, and we were like,
Okay.
okay,
Wow.
let's just do this, in a proper way. Because the minute we started playing, I'm like, there's no ways I'm going to just do this on my phone. Like
Mm.
it has to be kind of recorded and shot the right way, so that when people see this, it needs to really kind of appeal to them, just not just the audio, but the whole.
Mm.
Uh, the fun part about recording an album like this is something like, everything is live.
Yeah.
There is no redubs, or there is
Right.
no like, okay, let's stop and now again do something. It's nothing like that. So we
Yeah.
do like two, 3 takes, and then we decide, okay, um, song number one, this is going to be the take that we're going to choose.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's about it, but there are no tweaks there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's very challenging, because obviously you have to know the form, you need to know what's going on, you have to listen to each other, because there are a lot of solos and stuff happening. And the energy is something like, every song, even if I play 3 times, every time it's something different.
Mm-hmm.
So it was so difficult for us to actually even choose the right takes when it came
Mm.
to the selecting the final song. So, but yeah, it was an amazing process, and it was so much fun to work with Mark, and the kind of response that we are getting now after it has come out. And Harsh has done an amazing mix for us at Iron
Okay.
City Studios. And yes, this entire process has been amazing. It was so quick, but I think it just turned out so well for us.
Incredible. Firstly, I forgot to congratulate the two of you for the
Thank
EP.
you.
Do you call it an EP or an album?
It's
What is a
EP,
better
yeah.
term? What is a better term? An EP?
I think based on the length, it's technically an EP. Yeah.
EP? All
Yeah.
right. Okay. So, I mean, based on whatever you said and what I gathered, I had another follow up question that just popped up. In contemporary times, when there's this whole idea of global imperialism, perhaps, we largely equate the Western culture, which tends to seek to make the uniform in terms of both your sensibilities put together. And both
Mm.
of you definitely embody some of the highest aspirations and the purity of your own cultures and traditions in music, for sure.
Mm.
And you also sort of gone about building a bridge between these sensibilities. So, could you speak a little bit about melding your musical sensibilities in the context of the EP Better Than Sex?
Okay. So I got a little shook at musical imperialism being from the US. I don't, yeah, I don't. So I want to make it known that I'm not interested in any musical colonization or
Yeah,
imperializing or anything like that. To
yeah,
me, um, I I I remember the first time I came to India and I started interacting with Indian musicians, and I was awestruck by the sheer virtuosity
mm-hmm,
that so many of this nation's musicians have.
mm-hmm,
Um, and there's something, I would say there's something in the water, like where there's something in the food, where it's
yeah,
like there's something really special here
mm,
that's happening. that I actually don't think is being recognized on a world scale that needs to be recognized. Uh, I don't know how to bring attention to that. I think you're doing your part, Aditya, by trying to interact with musicians from the West. But I can speak to having lived in Chicago and Dallas, Texas, and Los Angeles, California, that some of the musicians here in Mumbai, India, are some of the best in the world.
Sure.
And so in terms of like, um, you know, bridging a gap or something like that, I think that the gap has already been bridged by the musicians themselves through their own education. I think that
Okay.
Darshan is extremely versed in Western styles and, of course, Indian styles. I can speak to those in, like, my wife is obviously Mohini Day.
Yeah.
She's very versed in Indian music as well as Western music. So when I come over here, I feel at home. I don't
Mm.
feel that I have to do any work at all to make anything happen. The work has already been done, and the special thing that you're hearing is not from me. It's from I mean, I try to bring what I bring to the table, but I think that it's not like I'm doing something super special by like, oh, I'm from the West and I'm coming over here to India and I'm showing. No, it's already been done. Everyone knows how to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
What I will say is that maybe my compositional style is a little bit different than uh, what people are doing currently,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a sound in my ear of when I think of how Darshan and I would play together. Like I try to write for us. Like I try to cultivate what I think would be an awesome sound based on what I know about us.
Mm.
And that's going to be different depending on each musician I play with, So um, I just try to serve the people. Like when I write for people, I try to serve the musicians or artists that I'm working with. And I think that in this album, it came out really well, that we both sound, I'd like to say, I'm not trying to sound bashful, but I think we sound good. And I think it's a great record. And I'm very proud of our work. And yeah, I guess I don't have a way of tying it up. It's just I'm very proud of everything, and I don't feel that I am doing any work to like bridge the gap. I think that Indian musicians are so good uh, and should be more recognized. So that's how I'll answer it.
Okay.
Hmm.
Darshan also did highlight a little bit about the rarity of the saxophone being an instrument, right? So, could you elaborate on the historical scarcity of saxophone players in our country? It's been there for an extended period of time, from what I've known. I would also like to understand what are the underlying causes for it and your perspective on the evolving dynamics that might be shaping its presence in a country like India as time progresses.
So, as I said earlier, it's obviously a very difficult instrument, and somebody has to really spend a lot of time uh, to really master it at what level Mark has reached, or so firstly, it's just that because it's not, I think the schooling system in India is
Mm-hmm.
always pushing for whether it's Indian instruments, whether it's the tabla, sitar, like lately obviously there is drums, guitars, keyboards, which is the very regular ones. I feel there is it's high time that people also take into consideration instruments like the entire horn section, uh, because I don't see that much happening here in this country, and that's one of the reasons that we don't have that many saxophone players at this level, where it's not just about playing film music, but it's
Yeah.
also getting into and making some vocabulary where you are able to communicate on stage with musicians of this level. So I feel it's important somewhere in the musical system now in India, wherein all these things needs to start, because we really don't have a good, say, like a an orchestra, like right
Yeah.
now if you
Yeah.
see the NCPA orchestra also, the Indian orchestra, there are people from abroad who are part of the Indian orchestra. It's not a entirely Indian orchestra, you know.
Okay.
So I think that's where I think we need to now start changing the things around. Like, yes, Indian music is extremely important, and even somebody who learns drums from me, I will always tell them, please learn at least one Indian instrument. You know,
Hmm.
whether it can be just, you don't have to physically actually play it, but for the information, you know, the
Ah,
kind of formulas that Indian rhythms have.
Yeah.
Just learn for that. You know, it'll really help you going forward. So yes, Indian music is, you know, has a lot of information that we need to, you know, take from the music that we already have. But I feel there has to be some opening for instruments like saxophone and violin, you know, and create an orchestra which is completely all with Indians, you know. And I think that will really change the game going forward.
yeah.
Okay.
I would like to speak to one thing, just with that. Like, I've since living in Mumbai, I've
Mm-hmm.
taught quite a bit now to various students,
Okay.
and and also I've seen others teach. I've seen Darshan teach a little bit. I've seen Gino Banks teach a little bit. I've seen Mohini teach, and especially with my drummer friends, uh, there's a wonderful way that they're able to teach in levels. I think I kind of touched upon that maybe before with you, Adi,
Yeah.
which is that you can take a rudiment at a very basic level, and then you can go to level two, which is a little bit more complicated. You take the same idea and go in levels. Um, I think that it's very intuitive with drums,
Mm.
um, whereas maybe with saxophone and violin and trumpet, if you don't have a good teacher, it can be less intuitive in that way. You learn a song, and it's like, uh, you're playing all the right notes and stuff, but are
Yeah.
you playing it with the right bowings? If you're playing violin, or especially for my instrument, it has a lot to do with articulation and technique. And are you setting up habits that are going to be bad for you long term in your
Mm.
playing?
Mm.
And if you don't have the correct teacher at the beginning, it can mean many, many hours of unlearning, meaning
Yeah.
undoing these processes that you've learned, undoing these bad habits that you've learned. So, you know, I think there are so many and great players, but I do think that there are little things that, like articulation is one thing that I've noticed.
Yeah.
That's something that like isn't talked about a lot with friends, uh, and my friends in the saxophone community here. It's just we come from different schools of thought, and the historic saxophone sound in Bollywood music is a much different tone than what we refer to in the West. It's not a
Yeah.
good or bad thing. It's actually um, Louis Armstrong, and Wynton Marsalis, and many people have often said that when we play a wind instrument, it's meant to emulate the voice.
Mm.
Okay, so
Mm.
I'm trying to emulate a type of voice when I'm playing my instrument. I also think that other saxophonists and trumpet players and violin players are emulating like the old Bollywood voices sometimes, like with the
Mm.
vibrato and when they're playing these melodies. And so objectively, they're not playing wrong. They're actually playing in the style perfectly. Okay. But then when you try to take that vibrato and that style of playing into a Western music context, it starts sounding very odd to my ears, to my
Okay.
sensibilities.
Okay.
Now, those are my sensibilities. Okay, I'm not trying to make any harsh statements at all, but that's something I see that
Mm.
uh, there's a certain sound in the vocal here from old Bollywood
Yeah.
that wouldn't work in the Western context.
All right. Yeah, that was a very fair description from the two of you to get an understanding on this.
Okay.
Similarly, for Darshan, I'd like to understand about drum and bass, right? So it's a genre which is relatively new in India. I would like to understand what are some of the challenges and the opportunities for this kind of a realm in the Indian music landscape, and how do you infuse? This is another layer of the question. So, how do you infuse your own cultural roots in a genre like drum and bass?
Yeah. So I've been a fan of this genre the day I saw the Jojo Meyer live at
Mm,
New Blue in New York.
Yeah.
I
okay.
think it was somewhere back in 2009 or 2010. And I was completely blown away. The kind of control he had, not just on the drums, just playing it like a producer. Like it felt like,
Yeah.
yes, he's one of the finest drummers, but the way he plays the music of Nerve is
Yeah.
incredible.
Mm, mm,
So from there on, obviously I've been in touch with people like Karsh Kale and even Talveen Bhai. I met recently Talveen Singh from London,
yeah.
and I've been fan of, of their musical work, and they have really done a lot of stuff when it comes to the whole electronica drum and bass genre,
Mm,
and
mm,
infusing Indian ragas, and having vocalists taking tumris and things like that,
Mm.
and infusing drum and bass over it. So I when I was doing my trio, I really wanted to explore this genre by itself. And generally, as you know, in Bollywood, it's very difficult to get this color. I've
yeah.
still tried to do it. I don't know if you heard the live version of Salim Sulaiman's song, which is called Qurban Hua.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
And I
course.
kind of
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I love it.
I
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I kind of go into that whole drum and bass section
Yeah.
towards the
Yeah.
end. It's
Killer.
mainly what we do on live concerts.
Right.
So I try to incorporate these things wherever I can, because I feel it kind of obviously pushes the music, and it's a very niche genre, so we have to kind of keep try to give the audience that that tone, that groove, that
Mm, mm,
sound for them to it will take some time to digest it, but it will over the years it will reach somewhere. And
yeah. Yeah.
that's what I did with my second album. I wanted to explore that, and it was really amazing to work with Rick and Hash,
Yeah.
Harshit, who's an amazing producer. And when it comes to understanding this genre, I would have those guys were just the perfect people for me to work with. So yeah, I've been trying to get that rolling, and wherever I get an opportunity, like even with Mark on the Better Than Sax album, if you hear the first song, it has that
Yeah.
complete drum and bass pocket. And in that, I obviously uh, coming to your second part, which is the kind of information that I have from the Indian rhythms that I've learned and the Carnatic
Mm,
music that I've learned.
mm,
I try to incorporate those little note value changes, or uh, or maybe doing a little bit of tihais or some kind of a corvée section to that, like wherein I kind of also showcase that, okay, the Indian rhythm connecting to drum and bass, and
okay.
how you can work towards that. So and I feel that tabla as an instrument, I always, when I used to hear things like
Mm,
rela is a kind of a thing in tabla, wherein they go like a really almost like a drum and bass kind of
okay.
at
All right.
30-second note,
Mm.
All right.
and I really found that very interesting. Wherever Ustad Zakir Hussain used to play that, I
Mm,
used to think like as a drummer, like how I would play something like this on the drums.
yeah. Yeah.
So I always keep those things in mind, and yes, and whenever I get an opportunity, I try to really use that in that music form.
Right. And do you see anything in the form of challenges for something like this to get into the mainstream industry? This form in
uh
particular. Yeah.
See, it's about more people doing it. Like, if
Mm,
somebody has to start, get the ball rolling as such. So once you
yeah.
start doing that, as you see this whole rap music coming so big in India,
Yeah. Yeah.
all out of nowhere, so things like this, I think it'll keep changing. Yeah, and I think if you keep doing things that you like and something that you love, I feel it's, for me, it's important to always do music in this sense, where I'm really able to explore the kind of music that I've heard over the years, uh, I feel I have to use that somewhere or the other, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I do these independent projects, it gives me that freedom to really, put my heart out and play these things the way I want to play, you know. And then there is no problem of, oh, it doesn't work with the film, or it doesn't work with this character, or it doesn't work with,
Mm.
this composer and stuff like that. So uh, I feel as a musician, for me, it's very, very important to always listen to all styles of music. That's what
Yeah.
my guru has taught me from day one.
Yeah.
And as Mark said, certain times I was born and brought up in this whole Bollywood music, and my drumming also was, kind of in the had that whole Indian style of drumming back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me time to unlearn that and
Okay.
then kind of really understand what is the actual drum sound, how it needs to sound, how it needs to be played. Going back to the masters, whether it was listening to Buddy Rich, Billy Cobham, Steve Smith, Dave Weckl, the greats of the last 50 years, and then trying to apply that to now playing Bollywood music with this information.
Yeah.
So uh, that is very important for any instrument, as Mark said, that you need to really learn where it comes from, the language where it comes from,
Yeah.
and then obviously, if you are say like in India, you will obviously use the Indian information to
Mm.
expand your vocabulary.
Right. I'd like to delve a little deep into the release, the EP, Better Than Sax. So, Mark, as a saxophonist and composer, your role in a predominantly instrumental collaboration, if you were to look at it, with Darshan holds great significance. So, could you elaborate on how you explore storytelling and emotional expression through your instrument? And from what I've gathered, you're a very deep thinker and a great producer too, from the music I've heard so far.
Oh,
So I'm
thank you.
also interested in knowing how the two of you balanced the traditional elements of jazz rock as a genre,
Mhm.
blending it with electronic music with the desire to create something entirely new for people across the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing that I feel is that instrumentation is everything. Okay, so if you have a saxophone player, if you have a drummer, upright bass, and a piano player,
Mm.
uh, and you're playing any music, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, you could be playing Happy Birthday and it'll sound jazzy because of the instrumentation alone.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
it actually doesn't matter, like, or maybe it won't sound jazzy, but it will be perceived as jazz because it's like, oh, those are jazz instruments. Okay, so what I have actually had some level of difficulty with is even when I don't want to be perceived in a jazz light. Okay, with some projects I'll be playing really heavy music that's
Yeah.
like super genty, that's heavy metal, and I want to be perceived as like I'm like in some sense, like I want to be a rock saxophonist some days. And I
Okay.
want to be a bluegrass saxophonist some days, and I want to be, I don't want to just be like, oh, because I play a jazz instrument, that I would be in the jazz category. But I do sense that that is something that just as humans we do because we see saxophone predominantly in jazz contexts. So whether or not I'm trying to make this a jazz project or not, it'll always have that jazz flair because of
Yeah.
my instrument. Whereas drums traverses musical genres more because it's in every genre of music, whether it's Western classical, there's a percussion section.
Yeah.
Indian classical, there's percussion. Rock music, EDM, there's always drums,
Mm.
whether electronic or acoustic. So that covers the jazz element. Now, if Darshan and I were to play without tracks, without production, it would definitely sound like jazz. It would be free jazz, right? Like
Yeah.
Elvin Jones and John Coltrane. Okay, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
the famous drum and sax duo that I really that comes to mind. But the production and the soundscape changes everything. Of
Mm.
so I really like using sounds from like Omnisphere and Keyscape and like some really cool VSTs that are out there using some cool effects from Unison. These things create sounds and create an instrumentation that sets up a soundscape that the two of us can live inside of, that
Mm.
we can try to vibe with. Uh, just to speak a little bit, when Darshan and I actually recorded, everything that I did was from this uh, VST called Super Audio Cart, which is 8-bit sounds. So we
Right.
recorded with like almost like it was like, did you ever play like Sega Genesis or Nintendo, like Super Nintendo or like
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
these games? Like, so
Yeah.
it was those sounds that we were using.
Mm.
Okay. Like,
Yeah.
there's a whole genre of music called like, bit music or 8-bit
Mm.
music, and it's like old video game music. So
Yeah.
actually everything from this album was originally created with that sound in mind. There's a great pianist in he used to live in LA. I think he's now in Baltimore. His name is Button Masher. His full name is Jake Silverman. He's been my inspiration recently for a lot of music.
Okay.
And I had that sound in mind for us, okay, originally.
Mm-hmm.
But then after we recorded, I was like, you know what? Let me go back to the drawing board a little bit and kind of add some more modern sounds, modern synthscapes, modern synths, modern key layers to this project. And uh, I think, I think it became a very different project actually from the time that we recorded to the release because of the instrumentation. So going back to your question, I think that instrumentation has everything to do with the way that music is perceived and what genre it's in.
Okay.
If you're playing, just to go on a tangent, if you're playing genty rhythms, but with only cello and violin as your band, it's not going to sound like metal,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You know, um, so the idea is that sax and drums plus synths, especially like the types of synths that I use, it's naturally going to lend itself to the genres that kind of we were aspiring to go for.
All right. The title Legacy Makers
Yeah.
is such a wild one, the title track of this particular EP. It's so uplifting right from the start with the saxophone hook leading its course with a lot of melodic fluidity. And of course, drum and bass complementing along with a lot of intricate rhythm patterns that he comes up with. So, can we talk a little bit about this particular song?
So with the name, I'll just speak to the name real quick.
Yeah, yeah,
Darshan actually was talking about it quite a bit with like,
yeah,
in Bollywood sessions,
yeah,
with a cue, you have to lend your playing to what the director wants as well as like what the character is doing on
yeah,
screen.
right,
So there are a lot of considerations you have to make. Whereas in our own music, we have the freedom to create our own legacy, to do just
yeah,
what we want to do. We want to show how we want to be perceived while we're
mm,
on this planet. And I feel that whenever we have an opportunity to record our own music, that's like our opportunity to say, hey, like this is what we were doing at this point in time in our lives. Like this is who we were. This is what we stood for and what we were aspiring for. And I think that the name Legacy Makers was an important one to me because um, you know, we're only on this planet for so long, and I know the type of legacy that I hope to leave.
yeah,
Um, I often battle with thinking like, am I thinking about this stuff too much?
mm,
Because at the end of the day, should we care so much about our legacy when we're gone? We're gone. But there's something that I think about where it's like, you through music, like I think about John Coltrane, my hero. Like he feels just as alive to me as if
mm,
he was here in the present when I turn on his records. I
yeah,
feel like his spirit is in the room with me.
mm,
So I think about that a little bit with recording. Like I want to, maybe share my experience even after I'm gone, that type of thing. You know. So that's what I kind of meant by legacy makers.
okay. Since we're on the topic of legacy makers, let's hear a little bit of the track. I'm gonna play a little bit of that. Yeah. incredible. Sounding great for a title track, I must say.
Mm. Thanks, man.
It's
Right.
come out pretty well, and that leads me to my next question. In fact, this was recorded at the Island City Studios in Mumbai,
Mm.
correct? If I'm not mistaken.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah. So I'd like to understand, in terms of recording this particular EP, how did this impact the EP? Like having recorded it at Island City, what were the benefits that you saw, in terms of having it done here?
So I feel, firstly, I think me and Mark both have worked a lot at Island City Studios in the last couple of years.
Hmm.
I think I must have recorded at least over, I feel, close to 50, 55 songs this year itself.
Okay.
Because I was also working on an album with Shankar Ehsaan Loy uh, for the film called Archies, which is going to release soon. So I've played about 8 songs
Oh wow.
in that film. So I was
Okay.
kind of, really there with my kit, with all kinds of snare drums and cymbals and everything out there. So I really had a good time working with Aditya Shiv Kumar, who's one of the leading engineers there.
Hmm.
So I feel there are very, very few places, specifically in Mumbai, when it comes to recording drums. So right now, for me, Island City is by far one of the best places that I've recorded drums in. Whether it's the room, whether it's the mics they have, the preamps, and just the working culture that they have out there is very professional.
Okay.
They also have their in-house Pearl reference kit that I also use sometimes. But obviously, for the album, I had used the Pearl Masterworks.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just a very comfortable environment to do music, because when you do an album like this, you want to be stress free with specifically how it's because see, both me and Mark are in the room, right? So
Yeah.
I need to trust somebody on the other side who's
Yeah.
aware about what we are doing, the sound. I had also sent him the music a little bit in advance so that he understands what we're going to be doing that day and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So I think it's for me, there was no doubt that I was we going to do this record at Island City Studios.
All right. And also, you have a great understanding of gear, both of you. Uh, I mean, I don't have to sort of explicitly mention that. Darshan, you've been specially endorsing several brands in the music industry, and you have a deep understanding of gear. So, could you share your choice of equipment that contributes to your sonic identity in terms of these performances?
Yes, I feel the instrument is everything. Sometimes what I hear in my head, if it can translate exactly the way with
Yeah.
the instrument, then nothing like it.
Mm.
So when I choose my cymbals, it is always according to what style of music I'm playing that day. So I have about close to 65, 70 cymbals in the studio now, with each, like, whether it's from the brighter sounding cymbals to the dark and like really washy ones as well. So
Okay.
it really depends on the music that I do, and that's why I also love collecting different snare drums as well, because whether it's working with the whole Bollywood space, or in doing independent pop music, or doing things like jazz fusion, drum and bass and stuff like that. I think it's
Yeah.
important for a drummer to know that sound of that specific genre,
Yeah.
and then try to create that. So if you hear the first song, I'm using this 10-inch piccolo snare drum for the
Mm.
whole drum and bass section,
Mm.
and then it kind of comes back to the main snare drum for the main groove. So I think these things kind of really add to the composition, to add to the entire sound of the album as well. And for me, that is something which is very, very important, and I take my time to really go through each song and see what this specific song demands, and maybe change certain splashes or cymbals
Yeah.
and snare drums according to that particular song.
Right. Mark, do you want to add?
Um, well, I guess within my gear that I have, see, there was a lot of people when they comment about my sound, which happens often, because I play the tenor saxophone. I don't have a very typical tenor saxophone type of sound, uh,
Mm.
because I am going for a sound more close to like my heroes, like Michael Brecker. It's interesting that Bob Mincer is going to be on the program. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I listened a lot to him growing up. I listened a lot to saxophonist Bill Evans. Um, so there's a certain difference between saxophonists, which is the soft sound versus the hard sound. Um, so like soft sound would be more like Joe Henderson, Stan Getz, uh, uh, and then the harder sounds are like John Coltrane, Michael Brecker, where it's like there's a point to the sound, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's a little bit more treble in the sound, where there's more brightness with like
Mm.
a low mid husk to the
Mm.
sound. That's what I go for. I like for there to be definition in my tone. Um, Whereas a lot of like old school tenor playing was like more woofy, like subtone, like all this like subtone to the sound.
Yeah.
So I endorse Jody Jazz mouthpieces. I find that this Jody Jazz DV New York. I think I'm actually play. I go between the New York and the standard, but 7 Star is the one that I play. I play a medium setup, medium mouthpiece, medium reed, and it
Yeah.
it tends to work great for me. Um, I don't endorse any horns. Actually, these mouthpieces kind of make everything sound good.
Yeah.
Um, which if I was endorsing a saxophone company, I would probably say that wasn't the case, you know? I would probably the saxophone is the only one for me. But since I don't I don't endorse the saxophone company, I'll
Yeah.
say that the mouthpiece really is what
Yeah.
gives the saxophone its color. With Darshan's drums, I'll just kind of say how I feel about the way that Darshan sounds in the studio. You can hear all of these choices were made before coming into the studio
Mm.
with him. Um, and it's very interesting to hear how well the drums translate in the studio environment and how they how well they sound in the box, so to speak. Um, I would ask one question to Darshan, which is like there are lots of different. You're talking specifically about snares. Um, how do you find the differences between like different wood, like there's mahogany snares and birch and all these different woods, and then there are like chrome snares and bronze and these different alloys. Like what do you think of these distinctions when it comes to snare drums?
I feel it's more about the kind of tone you're looking at, whether it's a little warm, like the wood will give you a little warmness to it. Sometimes when you use something like a brass snare drum, it's really loud,
Hmm.
but it kind of really cuts through everything, like
Okay.
and especially if I'm playing in an arena kind of a thing, or like a stadium gig, like a brass snare would really cut through pretty much everything. So it depends on, again, there are different varieties in wood and all. I feel it's more also about kind of coming to the tuning part. I feel
Ah.
you can give the same snare drum to 5 different drummers, and I'm telling you, it's going to sound different,
Hmm.
because it's the what I'm hearing it here is what I need to make sure that it comes out after it's recorded as well. You know,
Yeah.
so I think that the tuning is extremely important. Yes, the choice is also there, the kind of snare that you're going to use for a specific track, but uh, say like for a drum and bass thing, I'm really going to crank it up. Like if you hear my piccolo snare drum, it's like super cranked up. So then there is also the understanding of the snare wires, and how much to keep it, and how much tightness you need in that, or you want to keep it loose for a certain song. So things like this. So I think this depends on the track, and then obviously it comes to uh, more about your training and your tuning on what you are really want to listen as a final product, and that's what you'll have to kind of keep working towards it.
Hmm.
Have you ever tried making your own custom made drum set with like your own choice of wood? Have you tried something
I
like that?
have actually. I've so basically my current drum kit, which is the Pearl Masterworks, is a completely custom made kit according to the way I wanted it. So there is the
Yeah.
only the one particular section in Pearl. So all other drums are exactly as per what they want to do it. But the
Mm.
Pearl Masterwork series, when you buy that, is when you will get to know like from everything, the gold rims that you see,
Yeah.
to the sizes, to the kind of wood, how many ply will be maple, how many ply will be gum. Everything is been given according to my specification, and they've made the kit according to me. So yeah, that's an
Nice.
advantage of being a Pearl endorsee, is that you can do things
Mm.
like this as well.
Hmm.
Incredible. Darshan, I've had the privilege to work with the trio, the Darshan Doshi trio, earlier this year, sometime in January. It's been an incredible experience.
Yes.
Ever since then, you've been relentlessly touring all over the world. You've been one of the most sought after drummers for everyone, ranging from Adnan Sami to Vishal Shekhar. And I also believe you're playing with A.R. Rahman in October somewhere in Switzerland.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been the last couple of months have been
Yeah,
super hectic,
but
and even while we were doing this album, I remember I
yeah,
told Mark that these are the only 2 days I have.
yeah,
I hope you are free and we can do this and make it happen. So
yeah,
that's the way it worked out. We just met at my studio for 3 hours.
yeah,
We rehearsed, and we're like, I think we are pretty much ready to go into the studio.
yeah.
So yeah, it's been a little hectic, but
Mm,
no complaints, especially after the pandemic, 2021. And even 22, there was not that much international travel happening.
mm,
But from the end of the mid 22 to now 23, it's been amazing. There are promoters everywhere who are doing a lot of festivals. The Bollywood concerts are on, and
yeah.
so yeah, no complaints. It's been an amazing journey in the
Mm,
last 2 months, and yes, the next 2 months are going to be pretty crazy for me. I'm actually leaving for Auckland in a couple of days.
okay.
I'm on tour with Gurdas Maan Saab for like an Australia New Zealand
Mm,
tour.
mm,
Then I'm going to be performing in Durban on the 25th of September, on the 24th of September with the Durban Philharmonic.
okay.
So that's going to be a very interesting concert,
Wow.
focusing on ghazals and Bollywood songs, but interpreted by the Durban Orchestra. So that's happening, and there's some a gig with AR Sir happening on the 7th of October in Switzerland as well. So yeah, it's all kinds of different artists, different music, different
Yeah,
genres.
nice.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's fun.
Coming to my actual question, how do you navigate and strike balance between your work and personal life amidst extensive touring? And where do you generally draw the line and say that this is it? Like, I need to focus on my personal well being and my family as well.
So yeah, I've been actually very blessed to have a wife who's also a singer and a vocal coach. A lot of times when you are married to a musician itself,
Mm,
most of the things are pretty sorted because they know how our working styles are. Otherwise, for another person, it would have been crazy to have
yeah,
somebody like me touring the world all the time
yeah,
around.
yeah.
But I've been I've been very lucky to have a wife like Shannon, and I feel this. I For me, it's also important to always, whenever I'm in the country, whenever I'm in Bombay, and there's always a couple of weeks that I completely take off.
Mm,
And I don't take any commitments during that time, and I make sure that every year that happens. Whether it's in June or July, that's pretty much our kind of an off season for us, where it's raining outside and not much is
yeah.
happening in India as such. So I kind of try to take them out, and you won't believe, actually tomorrow morning I'm going to be going for a staycation in Mumbai with my family because I'm leaving day after to
Oh,
New
no.
Zealand. So I
Okay.
always make these things happen, because for me that is very important. I have a almost 3-year old daughter now,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's becoming a little difficult for me now to kind of go out on longer tours.
Mm,
uh, but I was very blessed that I kind of got this whole thing happened during the 2020 pandemic, and because there was nothing much happening in 2021, I really had a beautiful time with the family, and I got to really spend some very precious moments with them. So But
Yeah.
yeah, as I said earlier, it's difficult. But uh, music is something that keeps us going. And for me as a musician, it's very important to also play my instrument every day.
Mm, mm.
I was just born and brought up doing this. My first gig was at the age of 2. So you can imagine for the last
Yeah.
35 years, I've just been doing this. So, these are two very things, very important things in my life, and very, very, very close to my heart. So I have to maintain that balance as well.
How do you rejuvenate, Mark? What is your system like?
Hmm. So, yeah, similar to Darshan, I'll just say that I do feel very lucky to have Mohini in my life. She really understands how crazy I am about music. She
Mm,
understands that there are things that I need to do every day with my instrument and with writing music, and uh, we tried to set time aside for
mm.
us. Um, I'll be real that sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where there are definite times where we are so busy. Like right now, she's in Switzerland recording with Simon Phillips
Yeah.
and an artist called Darwin, and then she's leaving for Estonia, where she's
Mm,
teaching at a base camp with Stu Ham.
mm.
Uh, and then she'll be on tour with a Abhijit. I can't remember his last name. He's a phenomenal a violinist from the south of India.
Okay.
So she'll be doing a U.S. tour. So in the middle of that, we're only seeing each other for 2 or 3 days.
Mm,
Um, so you can be very positive that those 2 or 3 days will be spent with just the two of us. I won't be taking any
mm.
work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's kind of like you have to find your time. When you have the time, you
Mm,
try to spend it with your loved one. Um, in the future, if anyone watches this, in the future, we're all human beings. We all have our life, our music life, and then our personal life.
yeah.
And sometimes those can seem very different, you know. Um, I do feel lucky that Mohini and I get to perform on stage a lot together when we're playing with our various contexts of bands.
Mm,
But then we also do things separately, which is very important for both of us. That we have our own independent things. Like she's more of a fusion bass player. I'm more of a jazz bass saxophonist.
yeah. Yeah.
So like when I play straight ahead. I typically historically she hasn't liked playing straight ahead as much as she likes playing fusion music. So I play like straight ahead with a different cast of characters, and then when maybe we'll meet to play jazz fusion, and
Yeah.
then I don't really play the Indian fusion stuff as much. I'd love to, but I'm just not
Okay.
as versed in that music. I'm okay to say. But when she plays that, I'm not there with her. You know what I mean? And she has a whole cast of characters that she plays with when she does that music. So
Right.
we have a nice balance musically, and then we try to have a nice balance um personally as well. So
Okay.
on the side, I will tell you that like when I am trying to relax,
Mm-hmm.
uh I like watching shows. I
Okay.
like I like playing card games. I like playing carom sometimes.
Mm.
Uh, Only since coming to India have I really started playing carom. Uh, but then of course I sometimes I will play some games and stuff like this. But my time for like playing like video games, for example, has become very less recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like I like anything where it's like you can kind of escape reality for a little
Mm.
bit. Like
Mm.
you can get inside someone else's story. So whether it's a book or a movie or a game, to escape the world that you're in for a brief period of time to
Yeah.
enter some, mythical land
Mm.
is very fun to me. It's like, but and it kind of, for me at least, opens up my neural pathways for music too. Like, how would I want to achieve this in music? Like the idea of escapism in music. How can I try to achieve it, like the feeling of like let's escape to a different world within a song? And
Yeah.
for our listeners, like if you hear a song, I want to take you somewhere.
Mm.
That's I think that actually comes from that feeling of like watching a show, like that captivates you. I want that feeling in my music as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Based on what the two of you said, it kind of took me back to this popular Miles Davis quote where he says, "I'm not what I do, but I do what I am."
Mm,
And
exactly.
both of you clearly display that, in
So
terms of,
deep.
yeah, yeah,
Man, I totally agree with that. There are so many of these old sayings by our heroes
yeah,
that
yeah,
that go so deep. So
mm,
I totally agree with that.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
In fact, I was watching the premiere of the Wayne Shorter documentary, Zero
Mm.
Gravity. Did you guys get a chance to watch it?
Not yet. Not yet.
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Right. So there was this interesting conversation between Wayne Shorter and I think it was John Batiste who was interviewing him.
Hmm.
So there was this one question. I thought it'd be nice to sort of get your perspectives, revolving around the same question, where he asks Wayne Shorter, like, if you were to think of, life as, improvisation, right? If you were to look at life as improvisation, and you had to teach the same to someone from a different domain, maybe like an accountant or a coder like me, anyone outside the context of music, how would you go about doing that to teach them what improvisation is? Like, how would you be able to make them understand what improvisation is in your own respect?
You want to go first, Darshan?
Quite an interesting question, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
I think each profession has something about that line that people work in,
yeah,
and I often kind of I don't know. Sometimes I'm actually a very big sports buff, and I kind of always keep, obviously when it comes to cricket, who
yeah,
doesn't like cricket in India,
sure, yeah,
So it's like I always keep watching documentaries about sports people, and I recently also got an opportunity to kind of visit Wimbledon.
mm,
So I always make these things kind of connect whenever I travel, and I one thing I really like about sports people is this whole focus that they have when they go,
yeah,
and
yeah,
the way they improvise when they see an opponent who's trying to play in a different way, and because they know that they've learned each other, they've seen a lot of videos of each other and stuff like that, and how they will react to that particular moment
mm,
is pretty much improvisation. That is what they are doing, you
yeah,
know. So I think that's one thing I really I learned from sports people is the kind of focus and the kind of dedication and everything that they have,
yeah,
and how, and I think the same thing can apply to any job,
okay,
you know. I think if you are able to apply that focus, concentration, dedication to any job that you are doing, it can be a 9 to 5 job, or it can be somebody just making tea at a stall.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? But
mm,
if you are able to do that in the best way possible,
yeah,
with complete focus, doing that hard work day in, day out, I
yeah,
think anybody can reach that level, I feel, you
mm,
know. And that's what I always I learn from these sport people is that, uh, just for that 2 hour game, or a 90-minute game, the
mm,
amount of hard work that has gone there, and
yeah,
the focus that they have to maintain for that 90 minutes is incredible. Like,
Mm.
mm, mm,
and same thing with musicians. Like, when we play a set like this, that 90 minutes, or a 2 hour performance,
yeah,
we are just thinking about the music, the people who are on stage, the musicians, the communication between us. That's about it. There is no anything which is coming to my mind
Mm.
that time around, you know.
mm, mm,
So I feel that's what it is. I think if the focus, dedication, hard work is pretty much the key for me. And improvisation, as I said, you have to get really deep into the work that you do,
mm,
wherein you are able to move around things
yeah,
um, very, very easily when things demand that. Like,
mm,
a lot of times on stage, there are some issues which happen, which we have to make sure that it doesn't uh, go outside to the crowd. Like, they should not be able to realize that there is some problem happening on stage, and that's where we have to start
Yeah.
improvising in a different way. Like,
Yeah.
maybe some mic is not working, somebody's in-ears has gone off, or whatever it is. So again, that is a different style of improvisation that I'm talking about. But yes, I think pretty much coming to music and connecting that to any job or
Mm.
any sport or anything, I feel these are the things that are very, very important.
Wonderful. Mark, do you want to add on that?
Yeah, I do. So, first of all, I love Darshan's answer to that relating to sports, and I completely agree with that
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. And I love the way that he looked at that.
Yeah.
Getting back to like you mentioned that like you do coding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I see music can be looked at as varying like data sets with different variables. Okay.
Mm.
So if you look at like from a rhythmic aspect, okay, from improvisation, and this is something that I've learned as a part of Indian improvisation as well. Um, a lot of Indian music. This is from the Western standpoint, so I apologize to uh, my friends who are very versed in Indian music when I say these things. But even if you take a 5-note cell, okay, and you play uh, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, okay, it's like how can we invert this thing to a different level? And okay, we can go through different rhythmic like subdivisions. Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe
Yeah.
we start in quarter notes and then we go to a eighth note thing, and then we go to eighth note triplet world, and then we go to 16th note world. That's a very, very basic sort of idea of what happens in a lot of these Korvais and
Mm.
Tihais,
Yeah.
where you're going through different layers of rhythmic values.
Yeah.
So within the improvisation sphere, I mean, I
Yeah.
think about something just like if you're going to sing a major scale, da, 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 that's based on what I was counting there. That's just
Mm.
eighth notes on a major scale. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as soon as you just displace it 1/16th note, da, 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 like, you know what I mean? E, and, sorry, okay. I'm taking the same phrase, but now
Mm.
I'm slightly displacing it by a 16th note. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's in improvisation, maybe that's one element that we're thinking about. Okay, it's the same, the constant are the notes that we're playing,
Mm.
but we are changing one variable, which is the rhythm, okay,
Yeah.
with the rhythmic placement. Now, similarly, if we take the same rhythmic values, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but instead we're going to play ba da dee da 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 dee da, or
Mm.
ba da 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 da, whatever it is.
Mm.
I'm playing the same rhythm, but I'm changing the melody now. Okay. So the idea is that there are some times where we try to keep things constant.
Yeah.
Okay. So this happens especially with like drum hits and stuff.
Mm.
Like if you're playing like that do do that do that something like this,
Mm.
maybe we're going to keep those rhythms constant, but maybe we'll change the harmony. Maybe we'll change the melody that goes on top of this.
Okay.
So from an improvisational standpoint and just compositional standpoint, for me, it's a lot about establishing, okay, what am I trying to make the constant and what am I
Yeah.
trying to make the variable?
Mm.
So I would hope from like a math way or like a CS type of way, computer science way of looking at it, that would make sense to those friends. That
Yeah.
there like you have a data set. What's the constant? What's the variable? You know,
Mm. Mm.
that's
Fair.
that's that's how
Yeah.
I view it.
And also,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel you should not be afraid of taking risk on stage. I kind of
Mm.
Totally.
really enjoy
Okay.
like being at the edge of the seat, like
Yeah.
and making, and sometimes it might not go the way you want, and but the days when like it really hits the spot is I don't know how to uh, put that in words, like the feeling that you get when you
Yeah.
when you achieve that, taking that risk, and improvising it in a certain way that you
Mm.
had it in your head, but physically it kind of came out, and it really uh, was sitting well with the music.
Yeah.
Man, it really feels amazing when you get that down. So I feel as a
Yeah.
musician, it's very important to keep taking risk, and try and be open to explore different things in life.
Yeah.
A lot of time people ask me, why do you play with so many bands? You can easily
Mm.
just do play with these two bands and make a decent amount of money. And but
Yeah.
it's some for us, it's not about always making money. It's about exploring these things. We are artists. We are not here to do 9 to 5 job and go to the
Yeah.
work, and being oh man, why am I doing this, and things like that. I want to go to do my job, but my passion is my job. So I'm really enjoying doing this thing every day. And if I just play with one band, for me, the the point of exploring different things with music will end there, because I'll be playing the same music every day, day in, day out, for I
Yeah.
don't know how many gigs.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to push myself, even with the kind of schedules I have, wherein I'm able to give that much little time to myself to do what I want to do, to play the music that I want to play.
Okay.
And then I will have the freedom of really improvising and exploring the way I have thought it in my head. So that's
Yeah.
what it is.
I really reject the idea of people uh, who kind of bring down, like, oh, like what you were saying, like, oh, you should only play with two bands and then you can do
Yeah.
your own thing. I
Yeah.
really reject that, especially within the jazz historical lens. So many of my heroes worked other jobs outside of music. Lee Morgan worked at a music store. Um, there are so many examples. I I wish I had. There's a famous pianist who was a school teacher in Chicago. I'm trying to remember. Willie Pickens was a school teacher, and there are so many examples of people
Yeah.
who
Does
actually.
even the Coldplay? I think the Coldplay, the bass player, he also like maybe writes something for a magazine or something. I don't know if I might be wrong, but he
Okay.
also has another another job. Imagine
Yeah,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
band like Coldplay. Like,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And a lot of people, especially like pop stars and stuff, like
Yeah.
Justin Bieber, he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need to have a perfume brand.
Yeah.
Rihanna probably doesn't need to have a makeup brand, which is now competing at the top levels with all of the other makeup companies. I know this because, you know, uh Mo watches a lot of makeup
Yeah.
tutorial,
Yeah.
videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but like Fenty Beauty is huge, but Rihanna surely makes enough money with her music alone.
Mm.
So this idea of, oh, you know, uh, let's just be honest. Money is a lubricant to get the things done that you want to get done. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's the way that, like, oh, you want to travel? Well, you have to make money. If you want to make the music you want to make, you have to make money. So like
Yeah.
and besides that, there are there's always an opportunity to make great music with
Yeah.
everyone and to learn something from any experience that you're a part of. So I firmly reject the idea that you should be doing this or should be doing that. I don't like when other people actually tell me or my friends
Mm.
what they should or should not be doing,
Doing. Yeah.
especially when it comes to our livelihood. And being a musician is already tough enough.
Yeah.
Let's not judge. Let's you know and actually, let's refer to our heroes, the people who had to do things outside of music just to play. And what a luxury it is that we actually get to make music so that we get to make the music we want to make, Um, that's a rare thing and it's a luxury, and we should be happy that we live in a world where we can do this.
Right on.
amazing.
So coming to the last part of our agenda, I have the custom Rapid fire. I think Mark must be already well versed with this rapid fire,
Mhm.
but Darshan would love to sort of. I would love for you to try it out. Yeah. So first question for the two of you. Maybe Mark, you can try a different angle for the same set of
Okay.
questions.
Yeah, I'm I'm sure, and I'll try to make it faster this time. I
Yeah.
think it was
Sure.
slow fire the last time.
Yeah. So what is this one song that always makes you cry?
Oh
Uh,
my God.
Darshan, you first.
Makes me cry. I don't know. Man, it'd be difficult. Ah, oh, man, this is surely gonna be a slow one.
Uh,
This
Yeah.
is very difficult, man. I usually don't cry on like this thing, but sometimes I just
Okay.
get emotional hearing,
Yeah. What
certain
what
albums.
would that be? Yeah.
I think the first time when I heard the Chick Corea Electric Band, I was really in
Mm,
an emotional
okay.
zone for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I think for me, I'm going to say I remember my answer last time. I won't repeat it. Um, I what it is for me is my grandfather was the one who introduced me to jazz music.
Mm,
I had a great relationship with him when he was here with us, and so when I hear Stan Getz, Oscar Peterson,
mm,
I want to be happy and Pennies from Heaven. These two, there's something about these two first tracks on the album. Whenever I hear them, like sometimes I'll hear them and like that will actually make me kind of because it's like special memories with my my loved one and like we used to like bake pies together and stuff
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and we would listen to this album while were doing special things together. So it's I would say it's this album, Stan Getz, Oscar Peterson trio.
Great. Uh, on the contrary, what is your favorite guilty pleasure song?
Mark, you go first now. I'll get some time to.
Okay. Uh Guilty pleasure. So you know what? There is this one song, How Are You Now That I Need You? It was Justin Bieber and Skrillex and
Oh,
Diplo.
okay.
I used
Wow.
to love that song. Like this was probably
Yeah.
back in like 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
I just loved the production on it. I loved the hook line. Uh the vocal was actually not that present. It was mainly like these
Mm,
other elements that were happening, but like
yeah.
I've never been a believer
Mm,
necessarily. You know what I mean? I mean, Justin is he's an
yeah.
amazing artist. You know what I mean? But that's never been my top. You know, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
I've never been like like a huge fan of his music, but
Yeah.
actually the stuff that he's done in the past maybe 5, 6 years has been quite good.
Mm.
I shouldn't be a snob. I should say that I should say
Yeah.
that I do enjoy that. That is my guilty pleasure. And
Right.
actually, no, I'm not gonna feel guilty about it. Going back to the question, I'm gonna be a proud Justin Bieber fan. Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
gonna wave the
Yeah.
flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I don't know. Back in college and stuff, I used to really, I don't know why, but I used to really love Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
And like, I knew their songs inside out. Like, I used to sing and stuff. And uh, uh, like till date, like sometimes I just listen to those songs and it kind of really takes me back to that time. And recently they were in Mumbai as well. I
Mm.
unfortunately missed their concert, but it was pretty
Yeah.
awesome to see them here in the city. Yeah.
Awesome. What were the top two qualities that you guys found within each other that sort of propelled this collaboration? Like, what was that X factor, for the two of you?
For me, it
For
was very clear. For me, it was very clear. Like, firstly, the musicality that Mark
Mm,
has. Like, I
mm,
always wanted to
mm,
like do something like a collaboration with him where I'm able to communicate in a completely different original music that he created for this album.
okay.
And so that for me that was very very important to do that. And uh, the second thing is professionalism. The way he works, everything is pretty much clear and clean to work with a person like that, because it's always when you work together on an album or a project, you always want that kind of a clarity from day one.
Yeah.
And with Mark, it was just super smooth. The from the time we he sent me the music till the whole mixing process, and now putting out videos and stuff. It's just been a breeze to work.
All right.
Yeah, this sounds like a lazy answer, but as you saw, I was going to answer at the same time. So
Okay.
literally, I was going to say the same thing in the same
Yeah.
order. Okay, which
All
is
right.
of course, Darshan's musicality is outstanding. There's a reason why he's getting called
Mm.
for everybody in this city, and obviously abroad. There's a reason why all these brands want to support his musical journey.
Yeah.
Because of his musicality, of course, and
Yeah.
his professionalism. I think, uh, I want to speak to something that I think is important. I always try to actually be honest, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, I would say, and I'm not uh, maybe as tactful as most. Maybe it's something that makes me who I am.
Yeah.
So I will say this: within different spheres of and genres of music,
Mm-hmm.
musicians build up different reputations.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
whether it is for um, doing things outside of music that are not conducive to good health,
Mm.
whether it is not being professional, whether it's not keeping a good schedule,
Mm.
and some things are viewed as being really cool to some people, but to me, the thing that I love about Darshan, and you can hear it in the way he's talked. He is about his business, he is
Mm.
about his family, and he is about music.
Okay.
And I feel that I am the same way. Okay,
Mm.
those are I would say that uh, probably for me, my order is, uh, family, music, business, but
Okay.
however you mix those three, those are my three. Okay. Uh, and I feel that that is a common thread that links us together, is that we
Yeah.
both uh, are very serious, especially I think in life right now too. We
Mm.
are approaching life from the same standpoint of seriousness. Like this is not, life is not a game.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
have fun and we can do things, but also we need to take things seriously.
Yeah.
We you put investment into music. Okay,
Mm.
let's make these things happen and take this journey seriously and not just throw away a good opportunity, you know? So I think that that is a big thing that links us.
Marvelous. Is there a 2023 tour revelation for the two of you coming up for us?
So, basically, the idea is yes, and
Mm-hmm.
we have dates that we are going to be announcing. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
uh, and yeah, the idea is we want to uh, be be getting this music out to as many people as possible, uh,
Awesome.
and we are trying to as well, get this out to an international audience.
Mm. Mm.
One thing that's very nice about working with Darshan and also as a duo format is that
Yeah.
it becomes a lot easier to travel.
Yeah.
Uh, and so we're going to explore the possibilities of international travel uh, to play for a variety of audiences. So
Okay.
we'll announce the dates as they come in, and
Can't wait.
yeah.
One last question, which is a custom again in all of the interviews. Down in the distant horizon, what would you like to be remembered as?
I think, firstly, for sure, a good human being, man, because
Mm.
uh, I think things will come and go, dramas will come and go. I know, but I feel it's important to first always be a good human being, and after that, yes, obviously, the music and the legacy that we will,
Yeah.
uh, you know, uh, give this in the next 20, 30 years that we are going to leave.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, pretty much that is what is more important. But I think it should be whoever after us, whenever we go, first they should say that, man, he was an amazing guy,
Yeah,
to be with, and to hang with, and then yes, the music kind of will speak for itself, the kind of music that we will do in the next 3 decades.
incredible.
I think from my side, I don't know what I said the last time. I remember that this question was asked. Since then, I think I've thought about it a lot, and yeah, definitely within like my personal sphere of people, I want to be remembered as being a nice guy in the musician community, and um, you know, uh, ethical. I think is one word that I want to be remembered as.
Okay.
I think that outside of that, though, um, I actually mentioned this in the last talk that a lot of my heroes, like there are people that were jazz elders, people that 60 to 80 to 90 who
Hmm.
I got to meet in Los Angeles, and they would tell me about the people that I would ask them, how is this person to work with? How is this person? And some, oh, he was a gem, or wow, he was an ass. Okay. Can we say that on this podcast?
We'll censor it. Don't worry about
Okay,
that.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
we'll do our bit.
Beep. Okay, okay. That was my own beep there. That
Yeah.
wasn't okay. Okay, so no, but the thing is that there are there's the music and then there's the person.
Yeah.
You asked this question last time, can bad people make good music? And the
Hmm.
answer I said was of course. Like sometimes bad people make the best music.
Yeah.
And so uh I think that the music will live on longer than people's perceptions of how we were,
Yeah.
because only people that were around with you will get to experience how you were and remember that.
Mm.
Whereas your music will be analyzed and remembered for hopefully for a long time. That's my hope. Now, of course, there are so many people on this planet right now making music all at the same time,
Mm.
and there's so much noise in the musical landscape that it's like that's why I sometimes wonder, like, is it even worth being worried about how I'll be remembered? Because there's
Yeah.
so much clutter.
Mm.
How can people like I saw the other day on some TikTok post, someone said, "What is the name of this song?" And it's "In the Mood," Glenn Miller. And to me, that's just like I thought everyone knew that song. You know what I mean? Like, or
Yeah.
like I thought everyone knows Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
the Beatles. Like,
Yeah.
for people to have to ask, like, oh, what's that song? And it's like, that's the Beatles. Like, what are you talking about?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. That's the one thing I wonder about. Is it worth worrying? Should we just
Mm.
live our lives, enjoy the process, be good to our families, be good to our friends, and then be content with that, and not worried about legacy so much. And it's interesting because the title tracker is Legacy Makers,
Yeah.
but it is something I wonder about. I actually have a constant battle. I'm not thinking about it that much, but it's something I wonder about. So,
All right.
but yeah, good person, good music. In
Works.
short,
Works. Great answer for a closure. This interview is going to be additionally aired on Big FM Shillong and Aizol on their Sunday primetime show between 5 to 6 p.m. And you can find this interview on YouTube, and it'll also be available at a later point on all audio streaming platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in, Darshan and Mark. It's been an incredible blessing, honor, and a privilege. I hope you enjoyed being on the podcast.
Thank you, Adi, man. Firstly, I want to also thank that you've been doing an amazing job with these interviews and podcasts, that you've been getting some of the finest musicians from across the globe coming together and talking. And I've kind of connected on your interviews on Instagram and stuff. Whenever you are live on that, and there's so much amazing information that you get to hear and the stories that you get to know from the greats. I think you're doing a fab job, and keep at it. And all the best for all your upcoming projects.
Thanks, Darshan.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we were kind of talking about this earlier, but you know, yeah, like please, please, please don't stop, because what you're
Yeah,
doing is um I would say like God's work. Not to take it to like a religious point, but like I
yeah,
really feel like it's that important, because um you are interacting with legends, and they are seemingly totally like happy to speak with you. You know what I mean? Like some people that I thought would be unreachable,
hmm
and you are getting in touch with them and interacting with them. So kudos to you, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, and
thank
don't
you.
worry about the views and how many people have
Yeah,
joined the live, because it really doesn't matter. Because I feel that even if you've changed 10 musicians' life,
yeah,
by them listening to what you've put out,
yeah.
man, you've done a fab job, according
Exactly.
to me. So that's what is more important. So just don't worry about the other things around it. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for those insights, and yeah, would love to stay in touch, and hope to make a live interview happen very soon.
That would
Yes.
be wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, great.
Awesome.
So
See you
have
guys.
a great Sunday, and have a fun
You
time
too.
with your families. All right, bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys. See
See
you.
you, Mark. See you, Adi. Bye.
See you.
Bye.